On Canberra Live with Marcus Paul. Legal advice from Blumer's Lawyers.
All right, Noor Blumer joins me in the studio. G'day, Noor.
G'day, Marcus.
It's nice to see you. Now, the ACT Industrial Court has finally cleared the way for criminal proceedings against a construction company. This follows that tragic death of a contractor at a Turner worksite.
It's a very interesting case, this, because, of course, the ACT was at the forefront of bringing in quite seriously large fines against companies and managers whose actions have contributed to somebody's death in the workplace. Now, guess what? You know, if somebody dies, if you've sued somebody and they die, well, your claim doesn't necessarily go on against them because they're gone. And the same can be said about companies. When a company goes into liquidation, it sort of barely exists anymore. And so there's an issue in this case because, in fact, the company itself has gone into voluntary liquidation in October last year, but not, according to the report, not before $1.9 million was paid to related companies. So we don't know what that's about. So that's a bit of a concern as to if they were successful against the company. I mean, if the company's already gone down the gurgler, where's the punishment there? And it's a pity if you think that this could happen, that whenever a company does get pinged for something like this, they can go into liquidation.
It's taken so long too. This thing happened back in March 2012. Of course, we'll just refresh your memories. A truck driver who was severely injured in a workplace accident in Turner. He later died in a Sydney hospital. That's what this case is all about.
And the allegation is that Kenos contractors failed to maintain safe work systems and a safe work environment. Now, they've also sued one of the senior managers, Mr. Al-Hassani, and he could face fines of up to $300,000 if found guilty. So the whole question is this really going to be an effective instrument if really all it's going to happen is that companies go into dissolution? Having said that, I mean, a big company like BHP or somebody like that, they can't do that.
They wouldn't be able to
But
do
these
that.
smaller outfits, it's certainly something that they could take into account, or in fact a big fine like that could actually send them into liquidation.
Yeah, so look, I suppose, is this a civil action or is this a criminal action?
It's a criminal action.
Okay. So what would that mean for insofar as civil settlements, say, from the families concerned?
It wouldn't make any difference provided that Kenos had an insurer in place at the time, which presumably they did have. And if that's the case, then the insurer can sort of you can sue the insurer directly if they covered it at the time, but they've since gone into liquidation. And we do that all the time. That's a fairly common thing to have to do, unfortunately, but it can be done, and it protects people, particularly workers. And for a work claim also, so let's say his family had a claim for loss of his contribution to them, or their psychiatric injury, then it's that workers' comp policy that would respond to it, so they'd still be okay.
All right, now a Victorian murderer wants to sue the ACT government in the Supreme Court.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? They come from all far and wide.
Julian Knight, this bloke's name is. He's also attempted to get a transfer to the Alexander McConaughey Centre. What's all this about?
Well, this is the Hoddle Street massacrer. He's not the most liked man in Victoria.
No.
When he was sentenced, there was a 27-year non-parole period. But after 27 years, which is coming up, he's entitled to seek parole. But the Victorian government is bringing in legislation to say that, well, it won't apply to him. Okay. So, in other words, they're bringing in a law for him. And this is something that's probably a bit of a problem. Whereas we don't have such laws in the ACT, and he would be eligible to seek parole here. The theory being that if the Victorian law can't affect what happens to him in the ACT, hence he's quite keen to come here.
We don't want him here.
Oh, we?
I don't think we want him here. He can stay down there. Or he can maybe go to
Well,
Goulburn.
actually, if he came here and he was then applied for parole and was granted it and was released, he'd be released here. That's true.
That's what I mean. That's why we don't want him here at all.
Probably not. He's had it. But what about people who've done their time? What about that, Marcus? What do you say about that? 27 years is a very long time.
He shot dead 7 people and injured 19 during a shooting spree.
What if he's changed? He was 19 at the time. I don't know. But that's the situation.
What about if Martin Bryant's changed as well?
Yes, you never know. Yeah, well, Marcus, you just wait till the shoe's on the other foot.
Well, I'm not about to go out and do something like that, I can assure you.
The principle generally is sound, that people do their time. And also the principle generally is that the law at the time is what should.
Well, I would argue that the law at the time was crap, because if you've shot dead 7 people and injured 19 in a shooting spree, you should have got life without parole, but that's just my opinion.
Well, they couldn't at that stage. And life without parole, it just seems like 27 years is a long time, but it doesn't mean you'd be granted it, does it? So it's just an opportunity.
It's less than 10 years for a person's life that he took. No, it's no. Let him die. Let him rot behind bars.
Well, perhaps we could bring back hanging. Would that suit you too, Mark?
Well, for people that shoot dead 7 people, yeah. Absolutely. I've got no problem at all with that. Capital punishment all the way. Martin Bryant, capital punishment all the way. Why do we need to pay our taxes and our money to keep people like this breathing?
Well, they don't.
When a bullet costs $2.
It's not a very... Oh, well, there you go. I'll sign you up to the lynch mob brigade, and you can go
only
and do it
for the
yourself.
most extreme cases.
Yes, well, it's all a question of degree, and I think most of us would agree with you. In particular cases, it's best not done. There might be a cell free anyway, with the Eastman case going the way it's gone.
We don't want him here. Julia Knight, the Hoddle Street mass murderer, can stay down there and rot.
On Canberra Live with Marcus Paul, legal advice from Blumer's Lawyers.
You much of a footy fan, Noor?
Oh, I've got a couple of sons and a husband, so I take a reasonable interest.
Oh no, fair enough then. Yeah. So what do you think?
I think the Queensland's going to come back big time and give them a really hard time.
Moving on at 14 to... You reckon? You reckon? Okay. What score do you want? Not that you can win, but you can put a score.
Well, I reckon it'll be close. Something like maybe 12-6, something like that.
Okay, so 6 points in it to the Queenslanders. Now, I understand that Frank from Macquarie's been listening into our conversation. Hello, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Yes.
How are you, buddy? What can we do for you?
Well, I was just listening to the guy who, after 27 years in jail, he's got parole. Now, I've been married 49 years and I can't get parole. Where's the justice?
There's no justice. You'll just have to get a divorce instead. Or just leave home. Or get her to leave home.
Goodness me. Yeah, that's... I thought we'd get something like that. I appreciate that, Frank. Your calls on 6255 1206, even if you maybe have something serious about the law to discuss with us, that'd be great. But in any case...
he must be a very, very happily married to be married for that.
What, 49 years?
Must be fantastic.
Bloke needs a purple heart.
I think that's fantastic. That's lovely.
The Royal Commission into Institutional Child Abuse continues. Moving on to things far more serious, obviously, than that. Why do people have problems suing the Catholic Church?
Well, because the way it's set up is that it's almost impossible to sue them for these kinds of things, because the relationship between them and the priest is not the usual employment type of relationship. The church is run by trustee organisations, so while you can sue trustees individually, it's very difficult to actually get at the church itself. So what you have to do is sue mostly the individuals involved. So let's say you think a teacher who was a priest has done you a wrong in the past, then you would have to either rely on the fund that they've got going, which gives sort of gratuitous payments, or if you want to sue someone, you'd have to sue the priest. And given that they give a vow of poverty, you're not going to get much out of them. So that's just some of the problems. The other problem is bringing claims a long way out of time, but those are the issues.
Well, a lot of them are historical, and it obviously has been a massive problem. That's why there is a Royal Commission into the whole mess. It's just absolutely awful. Okay, we'll get back to the law in just a tick, but more phone calls coming through. Matt from Bonner. Matty, how are you?
I'm good, how are you going?
Good. How old are you, Matt?
I'm 14.
You a big Origin fan?
Yeah, I love Origin.
Okay, who's going to win tonight, big guy?
I go for Blues, but I reckon the Queensland will win. 18-12.
18-12 Queensland for you, Matty. Yep. All right, well, good luck. I know you just said that you're a New South Wales fan, so if you get it right tonight, what are you going to take, the New South Wales bag or the Queensland bag of goodies?
The New South Wales bag.
Yeah, you're going to have a bet each way. Good on you, bud. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
See you later.
See you, bud. Keep them coming through. 6255 1206 is the number. I've just noticed something pop up here on the screen, Noor. An online community of furniture enthusiasts has had the rug pulled out from under them after an international furniture powerhouse, IKEA, threatened legal action. Now, apparently, IKEA hackers, made up of thousands of people who alter, modify or repurpose IKEA furniture, they've been slapped with a so-called cease and desist notice. What would that be?
Well, I think it would be something under the consumer law. It might be that they're, or else it's going to be one of those strange writs that the court's allowed to issue in certain situations. And I think it's... I don't know what the allegation is, but it would be something like that they're breaching their copyright or their...
Well, I can tell you what it is. Basically, IKEA Hackers is a social network site on Facebook which has over 130,000 followers.
Yes.
And apparently its whole being is covering wardrobes, turning cabinets into wall-mounted rat cages, new pieces of furniture from IKEA components. It gives you tips, tricks and pictures for aspiring independent furniture modders. So
it sounds very odd, doesn't it?
Does.
It does sound very odd. And how are you going to get onto all of those people, and whether you can stop people doing things with IKEA furniture, I don't know.
So that would be why that they're being told to
cease and desist. Well, have they been successful in getting the order? Are they doing it in an Australian court, or are they doing it overseas?
It doesn't say. If I go through it, it looks like it's an overseas. It's done out of Malaysia, so I would imagine it's been done there, but probably by the looks of this, out of IKEA's head office. So.
Well, good luck to IKEA on that one. But there have been some famous cases in the past. For instance, I think it was it McDonald's tried to sue McWilliams, or something happened many years ago about the word Mac and who that belonged to. This might be, or whether or not using a certain company word is in a disrespectful fashion, or that harms the brand. Maybe it's something to do with this, particularly if you said they're using it for nasty rodent type arrangements.
Well, and that's it. The idea of IKEA there is to protect their international brand, and that's obviously what they're trying to do. Have you heard any of this business regarding Jamie Oliver and Woolworths? Now, there's been quite a little bit said. Now, I understand that he's quite upset by it, and he says that he didn't know that Woolworths were actually charging 4 cents a crate, or 40 cents a crate or something, for...
To the growers.
Yeah, for Australian farmers and growers. And there's been a little bit of outrage about it. Now, I'm wondering if... surely that must be in his contract, though, or would it be that Woolworths have decided this is something they're doing on their own? There has been a lot of talk about the big supermarkets engaging in those kinds of arrangements, and it's often been criticised because they've got such not a monopoly, but there's such market power, duopoly, pretty much, or market power, that in fact the farmers have very few places they can sell to, and therefore they're more or less over a barrel. So they do enter into contracts that they mightn't enter into if they had more competition for where to sell their products. And so the ACCC is always keeping a good eye on this. We've got very good laws that protect against unfair practices. Well, they are. I don't know if this one, if they're looking into it now. For Jamie Oliver to be upset about it, well, I can understand that.
at the same time, it's a little bit naive. He's being paid, no doubt, a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
By Woolworths, and he knew it had to come from somewhere, and he knew it would probably affect the price of what was being sold because it only comes from the profits. However, he mightn't have thought it was being done as sort of like a levy on the orange people, but
yeah, well, when we spoke to the Farmers Federation about Ozveg, about this whole issue, the farmers and their main concern was the fact that they were already being charged a levy by Woolworths for advertising, and this effectively, according to them, was double dipping because they were paying another levy on top of something they're already paying.
Yeah, and they weren't being given any choice in the matter, I assume.
No.
They've probably got a choice, which is pay the levy
or don't.
or sell it somewhere else. We won't buy it from you. So it's a very difficult situation for the farmers. And I just don't know how tight everybody can be screwed in every direction. But Jamie Oliver might need to think about the fact that the money comes from somewhere to pay him on this.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he'll be looking to protect his own brand as well, and if there is a bit of ill feeling out there between consumers and farmers and Woolworths, well, that may well affect him.
You could say that, what about all the poor people who are trying to buy that product and it's more expensive because of all of these issues? Well,
there's
they're not going to be very
everywhere. Yeah,
the money's got to come from somewhere. Anyway.
Noor, lovely to chat again this week. Thanks for coming by.
Pleasure.
We'll talk again next week. The Law with Noor Blumer from Blumer's Lawyers here on Canberra.